Hi guys, today's video is by request from a viewer, and there was someone who wanted to know how I got the drum sound that I got on my thrash ride cymbal technique video. And I've shown a couple of videos where I talk about the different experimental sort of mic placements that I've used. And if you've watched either of those, you know that I only have a 4-channel input to my computer, and I really only use relatively inexpensive dynamic mics. I am not a professional recording studio, nor do I think that I need to be, and so I just try to use the minimum that I can get away with and have you guys hear kind of what I'm doing. In the past, a few years ago, my videos were pretty bad for full drum set, and I think they're getting better because I just invested a little bit in my gear, but I'm not going to spend a whole bunch on like 16 channels and like large diaphragm condensers and stuff. So anyway, we'll just go through what I've been running recently and how I get that in the computer and everything like that. Okay, so I was going to set up for another video anyway, and so I'll just show you what I was going to do. So the main things I've got going on are I've got a SM58 type vocal mic over here. It's just what I happen to have laying around. This is one of my overheads, and I sort of have it pointing at my floor tom, and of course it's going to catch the right side of my kit anyway. Then back up here I have another of the same sort of cheap vocal mic pointing at my rack toms, and it's going to catch this half of the kit more or less. This isn't going to give me the best tom sound that I could get. I have another video where I showed you I close mic'd my toms and didn't have any overheads, and some people like that. Some people thought I didn't have enough cymbal in the mix. So this is sort of a compromise more towards the cymbals, but we'll see what the mic sound is like in a minute. Then of course I have a 57 clone. Like, I have another video on that on the channel. It's super cheap, but it works just fine, I think. And I have it right on my snare, kind of pointing away from my hi-hat, but not exactly towards my ride cymbal. We'll try to get like mostly just snare in that mic. And obviously you couldn't see it from that other shot, but I have an Audix D6 in my kick. That's my favorite kick mic. It requires less EQ than most other kick mics to get the sound that I'm looking for, which I like. But basically I just have it on like a little gooseneck stand, and it is inside of a hole, if you can see that there. It would sound better if this kick wasn't against the wall, but I don't have that option. Next question is obviously, where are those mics going? Well, so I have this Behringer UMC 404 HD Euphoria. It's got like the longest name ever. 4-channel interface, and so channel 1 on the left is kick, 2 in the middle there is snare, and 3 and 4 are the overheads. You can see that I have them adjusted sort of all in the middle of the range of their pickup, but of course the kick and the snare I have a pad on because they're close mic'd, and I don't have the pad on the other two because of course they're backed off quite a bit just spatially, so they get less sound input. Okay, so since I'm cheap and I also don't have any specialized audio engineer training, I just use GarageBand. Which has limitations, but it's okay for like just a little YouTube video. So all I'm going to do is create a new project with tracks with no effects for acoustic instruments, and I'll add effects later. But basically you just go down into, over here there's an input selection, and you select like mono 1 for this channel. Then you can like duplicate your track in the track menu and select mono 2. Now you have 4 tracks of audio, and you have to go into, if you don't know, you have to go into track and then enable multi-track recording in the menu there, and then whatever tracks have this little red dot next to the icon here selected, you can record into by just pushing R or the big red record button, which is like right here. Right, so I'll go ahead and record something dumb real quick just so we can see how that works. So I'm just going to push record on my camera, and then of course I'll hit R on the keyboard on my computer, which is right here, and then I'll make some noise, and then we'll see what happened. stop the recording and turn off this camera, which hopefully you can see now. I've got audio in my thing, and we'll just listen to it, which is going to sound really dumb through the camera speakers and everything, but we'll do it anyway. Well, you got to turn off the dumb metronome. Okay, so then I went ahead and I panned the overheads left and right a little bit, or kind of a lot actually, which is just these circles right here if you don't know how to use GarageBand. And then basically I turned down the overheads because they're a little bit harshly loud. And then of course I just want to make each track sound the best that it can, and really the only way I do that is I go over here into the edit menu and I just look at, there's a compressor right here, and I just put on a drum compressor. I don't even do a custom one, I just throw on a drum compressor that they already have. So then I go in, and then you have this visual EQ down here. You enable that, and you get this little EQ box. Usually for like overheads I roll off the bass. For, which would be down at this end, you roll off the bass there. And if I do the snare, I kind of roll off some of the mids because they're kind of ringy and annoying. For kick, I roll off, or I drop down somewhere in the 100 to 200 range because it's really boxy. And that's about it. I don't do a whole lot else to it. So I'll do all that stuff and maybe you can hear the difference. Okay, so I've got everything EQ'd or whatever. This isn't a mixing tutorial, so yada yada. So you get something that sounds like this. Maybe you can hear it. Basically, the thing that I think people forget is that recording drums is often more about the drums than it is about the audio equipment that you're using. If you start out with a good drum sound, or at least an okay drum sound, you're going to get a better result than if you can spend $10,000 on recording gear easily and still not have everything you want. And if you record a bad sounding drum kit, you're not going to get a decent recording, right? That's pretty obvious. That's like recording 101. Whatever you're recording has to sound good in the first place. You can't just make it sound good. I mean, you could sample replace everything, but that's stupid and I don't like that. So if that's your deal, go ahead. But I like to have real sounding drums, and so you have to start out with good, real sounding drums. Okay, so that's about it for me today. That's my entire recording process. It's not too complicated. It's 4 mics, decent sounding drums that I've tuned a couple times in the past year, and GarageBand. Nothing spectacular. This room isn't amazing sounding. You just have to give it a go. All right, so thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.